Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. We're going to the WWE Vault. We have a dark match that you found for us. This is some lost footage, I believe. How did you find this one? And tell us about the significance of Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker in September of 1997.
Yeah, this is a crazy one. Kind of when it falls, like you figure this is right before all of them, like you kind of had some madness with all of them and being in the roles they're in and all these guys kind of feuding and all these different things happening. And so a lot of moving pieces at this point. You know, we as casual observers at the time didn't know how volatile things were kind of backstage and what was going on. But now in retrospect, we can see like this is when things were really getting crazy backstage. Like it was getting real hot. You had a lot of different things happening. So that's a little bit of the story as well here too. But yeah, this was one, like we're just still in the vault. It was one of those that was like, check this out. And it was 4 hours of Bret Hart footage, as we'll see from the video itself, but this was just a little snippet of the end of the match that these guys had. That was a dark match after a Monday Night Raw, and so really just kind of crazy to look at the names in this one and who it is, and then to have this as a dark match, it makes sense, but also it's crazy.
Well, I'm pumped to cover this one, man. We got a lot to talk about in a very quick amount of time. So let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right. So September of 97, September 22nd, 1997. As you said, it's a very precarious time in the World Wrestling Federation. We're getting ready to let Bret Hart know that we can no longer afford him. Bret and Shawn do not like each other. Taker and Shawn do not like each other. We have Hell in a Cell coming up. We have Montreal coming up. It's just a wild time to be a fan, and the behind the scenes of professional wrestling at this time was just absolutely insane. And remember, 97, your peak WCW, and the WWF, for as chaotic as it was behind the scenes in 1997, the on-air product was pretty damn good. And this is, you know, you'll see just from this card some of the talent. We had Ahmed Johnson defeating Rocky Maivia in a quarterfinal match for the Intercontinental title tournament. The Legion of Doom were going to defeat the Nation of Domination by DQ in 2 minutes. Owen Hart's going to defeat Brian Pillman by DQ in a WWF Intercontinental title semifinal in 7 minutes. Cactus Jack is going to defeat Triple H in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And then Bret Hart's going to defeat Goldust. So I don't know about you, Jeff, but pretty damn good episode of Monday Night Raw in terms of the talent and what we have on there. Bunch of Hall of Famers. Hell, I mean, okay, here's one way of looking at it. I think everyone on there is either should be in the Hall of Fame or is in the Hall of Fame, other than maybe Ahmed Johnson. But otherwise, that's a right hell of a roster. And then our dark match, the reason we're here, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. And oh, by the way, I think there's some other significance that happened on this show as well.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. So this is, like I said, a lot happening in this one. So, like you said, late September, we're at Madison Square Garden. Of course, they're always going to put on a good show at Madison Square Garden. Looking at, they had a lot of tournament matches on this one, and so it kind of makes sense that they'd also throw this match at everyone. But like you said, the significance of this, like, Raw is War episode Monday night was, one, this was the first time ever that Stone Cold Steve Austin stunned Vince McMahon. And so mark your calendars, happy anniversary. Like, we're actually coming up on it here, 9/22/97 pretty soon. And so, or is that today? That would be today. Oh my gosh, there you go. So happy anniversary to the first Stone Cold Stunner ever happening this year in 1997. And so that's great. That is not planned. And so that, like, unlike the 316, not planned on this one. So, but you had the first stunner, but then also, like you said, Cactus Jack beat Hunter Hearst Helmsley in that Falls Count Anywhere match. This was actually the debut of Cactus Jack on this show. And so, you had Mankind transforming during the match, and so and kind of having that one of the three personas out there. So you also had just a very hot crowd on this one. It's Madison Square Garden. You're going to have that anyways, but we are about 2 weeks out, maybe 3 weeks out from Bad Blood at this point, which people didn't know what they were going to get with that, but we did have that Bad Blood coming up. So you have a few different pieces moving here. One, Bret was the WWE champion. He was feuding with both Shawn and the Patriot, actually. And so, fan of the show, friend of the show. Shawn had actually just turned heel, and he was part of the Generation X and their early formation. So you will actually see, as we're watching the clips from this, Chyna and Triple H will be ringside on this one. And then you had the Undertaker, who was building toward his first ever Hell in a Cell match with Michals at Bad Blood. So you had all three guys, like, from a build and like kind of what they're working toward perspective, like, this makes a ton of sense because all three guys just kind of hated each other in one way or another. And so, like I said, there's not like full footage of this match out there, but this was the kind of dark show super main event. It's Madison Square Garden. We're going to go put three of our best guys out there and have them take that. And so, to put it in a little bit more context here, you had Bret and Shawn. You had both the backstage and the on-screen stuff. And of course, we know what's about to happen in November of 1997, like you said, at Survivor Series. You had Shawn and Taker that had, 2 weeks later, you've got the Hell in a Cell match. And so that's coming up as well, too. And then Undertaker and Bret, they had actually just finished a feud from SummerSlam, and Shawn was a special referee on this one. So all the pieces, like the puzzle pieces, fit together perfectly to have these guys have a triple threat match. You almost kind of wonder, why did they burn it as a dark match? Like, maybe they almost burned too bright on this one by knowing what they had. And so, it's kind of how we got here, and having this match, it just, all these kind of pieces with everyone and kind of everybody hating each other just made a ton of sense.
Well, and you bring up a good point, which is this would have been a hell of a TV match or pay-per-view match at some point. And I mean, maybe this is what you got to at the Royal Rumble if Bret Hart stayed. I mean, I don't know, how this would have all played out and been booked. But yeah, these three, you think like the Punk, Reigns, Rollins three-way, three megastars, ton of story to tell. This reminds me of that a little bit. So I'm looking forward to cover this one. And so this is not the full match, correct? We're going to get like highlights of this.
Yeah. We're getting the last about 5 minutes of this one. Yep.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. 1 and 6 minute mark of the Bret Hart mixtape on WWE Vault. Jeff, are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
I'm trying to think. I don't think you made the blackboard too many times, huh? All those years? No, I don't remember drawing you once, I don't think.
So it's funny. We have, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, just chummy and talking like, old buddies. And I know they've done a number of different interviews, but yeah, all is well now, but it certainly wasn't then. Okay, so now we're into the match. Shawn Michaels is in like street clothes. He's in black jeans.
that is going after Taker took out Bret, and then Shawn took out the knee of Undertaker, and so we've got no commentary on this one because, like we said, it's the dark match, but you do have the what is it, the standard Madison Square Garden entrance, kind of from it's opposite hard cam, and people kind of hanging out there. Yeah,
and Triple H on the outside, and China helping Shawn. Now Shawn and Bret going at it. I don't know if you noticed this. Everyone's on their feet.
Yeah, and this is a dark match.
I mean, their
row ain't sitting. Yep.
Yeah, no, they're all like standing, and I mean, they're into this. This is a lot of fun. One criticism recently of WWE has been that a lot of matches don't have a long build, and it's because you have a PLE. It feels like almost every 3 weeks in a lot of cases. Like we're building to the Clash, then we're building to this, and we're building to that, and so my feeling, and I want yours on this, my feeling is we don't have long attention spans. So just every 3 weeks, give me new, really, really cool stuff, as opposed to everything needs to be a 9-month drawn out build. Like I think Triple H is doing a good job of, we're going to move fast. We're not going to do car crash TV like we did in 97, where we flip the belt every month. But at the same time, like we recognize that people have shorter attention spans. So, a 3-week build for Cena and Logan Paul is perfectly fine, because we know who these guys are and they can cut a couple promos and establish it, and that's totally fine. Do you agree with me on that?
I think it's kind of half and half. We have a few storylines that are taking years. Yeah. And so some of the Cody stuff is long playing. It's like
Punk Rollins. So I think some of the stuff with Drew. I mean, right?
So I think you're getting like, I think the argument's bullshit, because you've got some they're also trying not to replicate, like you said, some of the mistakes of the past. But then also on the flip side, like, okay, like, do you really want like this? By the time, if something goes 3-4 months, all of a sudden you're like, why isn't this paying off? It's like, well, they're trying to tell a story, like, and so like that long-term storyline is what is part of it. And so, and on the flip side, like, there is some of that long term. So I think that like it's really kind of what you're looking for, what you're interested in. Like, and I also think we're focused on the wrong things sometimes too, like Karrion Kross, wherever he is in the world. Like, okay, like fans wanted it. Well, you know what? Like, we're not going to get it. So that's that. And whether we're getting worked or whatever, who knows? But, Punk is, like you said, with Seth, he's kind of quietly had these, hatred of each other. And so I think there's both sides. It's kind of what you're looking at. Like you and I, who are the super fans, like we look forward and can navigate those kind of long-term ones. But for some other people, it's like, oh, how come they didn't do this? How come they didn't do that? It's like, well, you kind of got to let it play out. But also we are, I don't know what the demographics are nowadays, but I'd say we are on the older side of wrestling fans at this point. So to tell, some, teenage kid, hey, get invested for 3-4 months.
Exactly.
It ain't going to happen.
Exactly.
You got to think of it that way too.
So Shawn is in the sharpshooter. This has been a really good match.
Yeah, it has.
And the Hart Foundation's ringside as well. I don't know if you covered this, or I don't know if you covered this or you're going to, but is this, I mean, Shawn Michaels hadn't wrestled on TV since before WrestleMania 13, right? Because I don't think he like really hadn't done anything since, Wow.
See, Undertaker taking Michaels out by kicking a chair, but then DX pulled him out, and then Bret snuffed in and pinned Shawn. Clean. Well, not totally clean, but yeah.
It's pretty
so
wild.
Now you got a little bit of a brawl here with Taker giving the choke slam, sent him home happy. Yep. And Michaels is just laid out, kind of selling it. Yeah. And that's it. Okay.
Well, that was a lot of fun. I mean, but you watch that and you think, wow, 20-minute main event at a Royal Rumble or a major pay-per-view, that would have been a hell of a match. you know what? It also begs the question, Jeff. Why wouldn't that have been your Montreal main event? And then you put the three of them in the room and say, okay, Bret, what can you live with? Well, I can live with Taker being champion, or I can live with Shawn being champion but pinning Taker, or, you know, something. And then you could have done all the shenanigans because it would be no DQ. So that whole thing was so unavoidable. Now I'm not, and I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. I like digging into some stuff, but
sure,
I don't think Bret Hart, Vince McMahon was a work. But if you want to argue that it was, wouldn't that be a great example of, yeah, aren't there ways that you could have gotten out of that as opposed to what you did? Like, why wouldn't you have just a week before the match or the night of the match inserted Undertaker into it? I mean, how easy would that have been? The story was already there. So it makes you wonder just a little bit, doesn't it?
I think it adds some more context to what happened at the screw job too, because we've all seen the interviews of Taker and kind of him talking about what happened in the locker room, and watching this match taking place literally 2 weeks before, or, you know, a couple weeks actually before all this happened. Like, he would have seen the writing on the wall. He was smart enough. And so I think it's just one of those where, yeah, like you said, it could have been fixed. Maybe didn't, you know, Vince obviously didn't want to. But it does add another layer to what happened and why, like, how could it have been booked differently and played out differently? Just interesting for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So what happened?
Well, let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
All right. What did you think?
Overall, it was good. I wish we could have seen the whole thing.
For sure.
And so, but for what it was and when it picked up, it was a ton of action packed into 5 minutes though. Like you said, you had the Hart Foundation ringside, you had D-Generation X ringside, you had, you know, Undertaker on his own out there. And I think that there was just so many moving pieces. It really, you know, we always say send him home happy. They definitely got sent home happy on that one, which I thought was interesting. Just because of all the people that were involved with it. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
I did too. And I feel like, you know, the three of them in this era in a 25, 30 minute chaotic match on a pay-per-view, it would have been match of the year. You know, you involve DX, you involve Hart Foundation. I mean, it would have been, I think they could have had an all-timer. I really do. I mean, look at what Shawn and Taker did. Hell in a Cell, casket match, great matches. Look at what Bret and Taker had, a good match. Bret and Shawn were obviously great together. I mean, this you could have gotten this through WrestleMania. And oh, by the way, who are we not even talking about? The other guy that in March became champion, Steve Austin. You mix him into that as well. It's a shame that this Bret thing went the way it did. To me, Bret leaving is always going to be one of the biggest what ifs. You know, what if he stayed? You know, maybe Owen would have been booked differently. You get more Bret Austin. You get Bret Shawn. Shawn stays healthy. I mean, it's incredible to think about what could have happened if Shawn doesn't hurt himself on the casket. Bret doesn't leave. Perhaps Owen's not the blue blazer. Hart Foundation continues, but we'll never know. So,
yeah.
All right. What else you have for us?
Yeah. So this, like, we've kind of talked around it a lot here, but, you know, this, like we said, played out exactly like we all know of. You had Shawn and the Undertaker had their Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood, and getting into that. So, you know, and then of course Kane debuting during that. And then Bret at Bad Blood, he defended the title in a tag match with Bulldog versus Vader and Patriot. And so having that, and then Taker on the flip side, he had been feuding with Shawn because we just got into all the different stuff, and then the Hell in a Cell because of their SummerSlam match and trying to beat them. And then after this bad blood, then you get into the Montreal Screwjob with Shawn and Bret. We all know how that played out, and ending that. And so giving Shawn the win over Bret, and after Bret didn't actually submit. And so, so you had all these different pieces and all these different things moving that led to the next 2 months just being incredibly volatile after this taking place. And so Bret, no ratings on this one, of course, because it was a dark match, but reverse order here, 1997, Bret was 20, Shawn was 18, The Undertaker was 6. And so pretty decent numbers for everyone. Maybe Shawn and Bret almost feel a little too high. But so no scores. But Tom, what are you going to give this one your payoff score?
Yeah, I'll give it a 6.
I know.
I'll give it a 6 because it's just it's kind of like an incomplete. But I'll stand by the fact that this literally had the potential to be a 10 if it got booked as a full match on the right stage with the right build in this era. How about you?
Yep. Yeah, I'm at a 5 because I'm with you. It feels like, we're missing a piece of it, but also the things that came, while it was important for keeping their feud going, it was only a dark match, and also there were some of the biggest moments ever in wrestling history came after this. And so while it's important to the build of that, this is its own kind of standalone. While it was cool to kind of see it, take a few minutes to watch this one, it not as vital to that kind of overall as you might think. So as a match by itself. So yeah, but still good. Hey, you know what? It's hard to complain about a Bret, Shawn, Undertaker triple threat match. You can't complain.
Yep. Totally agreed. So I'm glad we covered this one. This is fun. You're finding some really unique, fun things off the beaten path. And next week we have another one, right?
Yeah, and so again, we're going to stick at Madison Square Garden, but we're going to go a little bit earlier, 1996 actually, and so about 18 months prior to this one taking place. And like I said, we're going to stick with the Vault. We've been enjoying our time with the Vault here, and so we're going to have Bret Hart and The Undertaker tag teaming at this point to take on Shawn Michaels and Diesel. So in a again, another dark match. So putting them out there, or excuse me, this one was not a dark match. This one was actually on the card. And so, yeah, but all good stuff, kind of leading into this one. But yeah, just 4 of the best out there again. So we'll see what happens.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be good.
All right. We'll see everyone next week on an all new episode of The Payoff.